You're such an asshole.
Continuing on today with Sick Cappy. Cappy all sick and sad. You may send all poor babies to assholeconsulting.com. We got a request from Down Under. Hi, Aaron. I'm a single 30-year-old man living in Oz with a net position of a little over 200,000 Australian, which is 130,000 US, and no debt. I earn a relatively high income, 170,000, plus an additional 25,000 Australian contributed to retirement fund by my employer. Okay, so you got that kind of covered. Over the course of my life, I have watched property prices in Australia steadily climb. Back in 2015, I predicted that we were in a housing bubble. It was on the edge of popping. Yes, until they printed off more money. And you guys are pretty much in the same boat as the US or Canada, where you have a bunch of fraggy vaggies over there who like majored in whatever college and not enough tradies. And you don't build up your housing like we don't do it here because I don't know, you guys got Karens like, we can't have affordable housing in here, but aren't you a Democrat and you vote Democrat all the time? Yeah, but that's just to be popular. I'm a liberal white woman. I don't really give a shit about the policies. I don't want those poors around here. They're a young couple that just want to get affordable housing. They don't need anything more than a 2-bedroom house. Well, they can't be here. Okay, so you kind of are a Republican. So I'm going to assume you have a very tight housing market. New supply is not being added. They keep printing off money. Surprise. Well, you guys got the Chinese buying up property too, like Canada. Predicted a housing bubble as your possible. Boy, was I wrong. When the disease happened, instead of decreasing, the prices rose even faster. In my hometown city, they've increased 75% since the beginning of the disease. It's about right, yeah. I'm scared that housing prices will keep growing to the point where in a few years I will not be in a position to buy a house if I'm trying to start a family. Currently, I have enough cash saved to put a deposit down to buy homes on the coast, which are 40 kilometers from the CBD. Okay. Is that like your Fortnites and your didgeridoos and their programmies? Or a nice 1 to 2 bedroom apartment in the inner city suburbs? We are due for an election for a government next month. Both Labor, left, and Liberals, conservative, are promising to implement housing policy. Here's where the government isn't going to solve. The only way you solve housing is you eliminate demand by sending your immigrants back home, okay? And or increasing supply. So let's see what the government's going to do. Promising to implement housing policies such as a 5% deposit scheme. That does not increase the amount of I know you know this, sir. I'm just saying that the idiots. Oh, a 5% down payment deposit scheme. Does that increase the amount of housing? No, it doesn't. And letting first-time home buyers of newly built properties make mortgage interest payments tax deductible. It doesn't. Nobody wants to do the work. No one wants to do. No one. I'm so. Remember when Western civilization didn't have its head up its ass, and you guys were like hard workers? We're going back to like the 40s and the 50s. Do you remember that? And now you have just a bunch of elite trust fund babies. Just oh my God! Well, if we pull this lever here, we lower interest rate. The amount of housing didn't change. You did not increase the number of homes. My question, given those policies will only increase housing prices even more, true. Should I try and buy a property before those policies and only make housing more unaffordable? Cheers. All right, so let's take a different tack to the idea of whether or not you should buy a house. We can discuss all day, just like stock prices. Is the property going to go up or down in value? Are we on the precipice of a crash, or is it going to stay? We don't know these things. And what you should do when it comes to buying a home, Australia or not, is look at your lifestyle and say, is this something that serves me right now? Am I actually in the market for housing? We could talk about price and interest rates and all that later. What does your lifestyle, your life goals look like? And then decide from there whether you're in the market or not. Don't worry about whether it goes up or down. We don't control that. Well, actually, we do. We could just stop printing off money and increase. But I don't want to bore people with economics. Are you in the market for a house? And I would say you are, because you're 30, you make good money, you have a career there, and I should probably have asked you this. Do you plan on staying in Australia? Do you plan on staying in your town? In the United States, it's well, if you plan on staying there for 7 years, generally that's the rule of thumb. Yeah, it's worth it to buy as opposed to rent. But right now, your lifestyle, you want to have a family inevitably. You're a highly successful 30-something-year-old man. Oh, look out, ladies. Where have all the good men gone? This guy thinks he's going to find a wife. Funny Oz guy. But you are in the market for a house. It would fit your lifestyle. And this is just me, and it's up to you. But I would get in just for the sole fact of cash flow. So you start building up equity, the old tired excuse. And not that you're just wasting rent or you don't waste rent, but you're building up equity that no matter what happens to housing prices, right? I'm going to assume you're going to buy somewhere in the same market. Let's say, single man such as yourself, you need a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. You don't need a big house just yet because you don't have kids, you don't have a family. So why not get your foot in the door now with a piece of property? And then as property prices go up or down, the value of your apartment or condo will go up or down in correlation with that. So you don't lose purchasing power. The only reason I got into the house I did is because I bought a house very early on when I was a young man. Now, I also lived in basements and I had the triplexes, so there was that too. But if I hadn't bought and built up the equity 26 years ago, I would not have had the capital I would today to go and have my house in South Dakota. And it's not even that big. It's just I get to live above ground. I think that's something that you should do. Sounds like you're going to be there for a while. I would look at things, again, not even financial. How close to work can you get? Like, is there a nice neighborhood where you could buy a condo? I'm leaning towards condo because you're a single guy. Is there a place you can get a nice quiet condo or flat, whatever the hell you Commonwealth people say, and walk to work or a short drive? That would really improve your standards of living. And we haven't even talked about money yet. So then, yeah, you gotta, most of your money is going to be going to interest at first. Maybe make some accelerated payments, accelerate that amortization cost. Now you're in the real estate market. Now you have a place that you're saving, in theory, over time rent. And then when you meet Mrs. Right, you could sell that, which should have correlated with whatever the current housing market is. Use that as a more than significant down payment. And then you could actually acquire yourself a 3-bedroom home or whatever you would need for your family. And it won't be out of your range. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with your general analysis. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, I mean, Australians are just like Americans. You're a bunch of pussies and you hate yourselves and you're not going to actually build housing. You're all going to go to college and be philosophers and save the planet. So and then also we're going to print off more money, right? If I looked up the Australian M2 money supply, right, I'm going to see it just go whoop, right? It's almost that housing has now become more of a hedge against inflation. I know the S&P 500, that's essentially what's happened. So while you have the time, that's not going to be, I mean, could you lose money on the deal? Sure. You could lose money on any deal. But what I like about it is you still get some use out of it, namely lodging. If you pick the right place, you can really improve your standards of living. And so that's what I would do. You could, if you find there's other ways to do it. Some people would say, go buy a piece of land that you inevitably want to build on. I'm going to assume you need to be near work somewhat. You're a highly compensated individual. You probably need to be nearby. Some people would say, well, toss it in an Australian real estate investment trust, and then you could ride the same, but then you don't have to like deal with the problems of home ownership. I would enter the market now. Think about getting a piece of property that really works for your life and for the foreseeable future. Like 7 years, right? You're not going to have kids in 7 years. You're going to have a honeymoon period. First you got to find a gal, then you're going to have a honeymoon period. So, and then the girl could probably in theory live with you if you were to marry said girl. And you got a 1-bedroom, and here's the perfect, you're like, hey, yeah, you're getting rid of all your shit. We're living a minimalist lifestyle. So if you get a 1-bedroom, might be a good filter. And then all of a sudden, 7, 10 years go by. Hey, it's time to have kids now. Let's sell. Look, I got 250,000 Australian in equity in this thing, and now I can actually afford a house 5, 7, 10 years from now. And if not, that's fine. You have yourself this asset over enough time. They'll print off enough damn money that at least nominally, I think you're not going to lose money. But it's the classic. Oh no, your house value doesn't matter unless you're selling it. Right? A lot of people, oh my God, housing prices, they stagnated in South Dakota. I'm like, I don't care. I live here. I'm not trading houses. Well, you should be like, what's rent versus what do I got to pay with insurance, mortgage payment, and all that? I'd be looking at the cash flow. That's what I would be doing. So yeah, I would. I'd go talk to a realtor, go start shopping around, think strategically. Okay, if I'm working here, is there a place I can walk to work? I mean, it's decisions like these. If you spend a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra thought, you can really even exponentially improve your standards of living. And it doesn't have anything to do with money. All right. There you go. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.